In this video, we are going to be discussing the character of the parson. The best way to think about a parson is think about your local church pastor. So he is a member of the clergy class, but he is just your basic pastor. A holy-minded man of good renown there was, and poor, the parson to a town. Yet he was rich in holy thought and work. He also was a learned man, a clerk, who truly knew Christ's gospel and would preach it, devoutly to parishioners and teach it, benign and wonderfully diligent, and patient when adversity was sent. For so he proved in much adversity. He hated cursing to extort a fee, nay, rather he preferred beyond a doubt, giving to poor parishioners round about both from church offerings and his property. He could in little find sufficiency. So this guy starts off strong. Okay, we think that this is a good guy. He sounds like a great pastor who cares about his congregation. It talks about in these first set of lines here that if he has a congregation member who is struggling financially, that he will give them money from the offering. And if there's not enough there, then he will give them money from his own salary, right? His own money that he has, even if that means that he doesn't really have much to live on. And so this guy seems like the type of person who puts others before himself, who truly cares about what he is doing. So this is going to be one of our very few characters that Chaucer actually holds in high esteem. And in fact, this is our first member of the clergy class that Chaucer actually really likes. Wide was his parish with houses far asunder, yet he neglected not in rain or thunder, in sickness or in grief, to pay a call on the remotest, whether great or small, upon his feet and in his hand a stave. Okay, so this guy's kind of like your postal service. I can't remember what the motto is for the U.S. Postal Service, but it's something like, rain, shine, snow, sleet, no matter what the weather is, like we're going to get your mail to you. And that's basically what this parson is doing here with his congregation. No matter what the weather is, he has his little walking stick and he is walking around the countryside, visiting each member of his congregation, checking in on them, seeing how they're doing, seeing how he can be praying for them. So he truly, truly cares about what he is doing. He is not in this job for the money. This noble example to his sheep he gave. The first he wrought, and afterwards he taught. And it was from the gospel he had caught those words. And he would add this figure too, that if gold rust, what then will iron do? So he believes in practicing what he preaches. Okay, he wants to lead by example for his congregation, because we have that line there that says that if gold rust, what then will iron do? So in other words, if you have a corrupt pastor, okay, how easy is it then for your congregation to become corrupt, right? Because iron rusts way faster than gold does, right? And so he wants to make sure that he is truly leading this life that is pleasing to the Lord and setting a good example for his congregation. For if a priest will be foul in whom we trust, no wonder that a common man should rust. And shame it is to see, let priests take stock, a chiton shepherd and a snowy flock. The true example that a priest should give is one like cleanliness, how the sheep should live. He did not set his benefice to hire, and leave his sheep encumbered in the mire, or run to London to earn easy bread by singing masses for the wealthy dead, or find some brotherhood and get enrolled. He stayed at home and watched over his fold, so that no wolf should make the sheep miscarry. He was a shepherd and no mercenary. So we learned earlier in Chaucer's description of this parson that he is an educated man, and he's quite smart. And so he could be going to London or other large towns and performing certain ceremonies that would bring in a nice income for him. But he doesn't do that. He chooses not to go and do these money-making ventures because he's worried about what will happen to his congregation if he does. I think he realizes how corrupt it was back then, and how easily influenced members like a small country parish could be. And so he is worried that if he leaves his congregation for a long period of time, that the substitute pastor who would come in and take over the congregation for a while might have a corrupting influence on them, right? And wouldn't really, or might neglect his congregation completely because it's not that substitute pastor's congregation. So they're not invested in the congregation the way this parson is. And Chaucer takes this idea from a Bible verse. In John 10, 12 through 13, it states, "The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep." So that is where Chaucer has gotten this idea from. So yes, this parson is on a pilgrimage. Okay, I do realize he has left his congregation for a little while, but I think he did think it was so important to go on this on this pilgrimage, since he did survive the Black Plague. But overall, he feels like his place is with his congregation in his small town. Holy and virtuous he was, but then never contemptuous of sinful men, never disdainful, never too proud or fine, but was discreet in teaching and benign. Okay, so he's one of those people that he wants to draw you in through love into his congregation. So he's not going to be a fire and brimstone kind of preacher with a lot of condemnation, but rather he wants to be accepting to all. He wants to lead through love and show Christ's love to others through his compassion. His business was to show a fair behavior and draw men thus to heaven and their Savior, unless indeed a man were obstinate, and such, whether of high or low estate, he put to sharp rebuke, to say the least. Okay, so yes, he is not a fire and brimstone kind of pastor who's going to be like banging on the pulpit and yelling at you, but he is going to guide through firm love. And so if he does see one of his members of the congregation going astray, he is going to call them out on that. "I think there never was a better priest." So Chaucer sums up his feelings for this priest in those lines. "He sought no pomp or glory in his dealings, no scrupulosity had spiced his feelings. Christ and his 12 apostles in their lore he taught, but followed it himself before." So overall, just a great character, a great example of what a member of the clergy class should be, the type of life that they should be living. And yet this is our first member of the clergy class that we have met who is actually following the Christian lifestyle, who Chaucer holds in high esteem because he is not a hypocrite. So if we look at this and what we've read so far, we have finally come across a member of the clergy that is not a hypocrite. But it took us a long time to get here. And we see, therefore, that corruption in the church at that time was widespread, but there were still solid leaders within the clergy. They were just few and far between. Okay. So again, this is a pilgrim that Chaucer does hold in high esteem up there along with the knight.